I just consider ourselves to be so lucky having ended up with them. My expectations were I needed somebody who had contacts, I needed somebody who was going to be professional, who was going to follow through. I know now Scott and Rosanna always use them in the context that we've used them if we ever had the opportunity again. And you have to find one you feel you've got rapport with and who's going to deliver what you're looking for. And Scott and Rosanna stood out to me completely because not only were they both warm and personable, he respected her as a team member. If you can't be respectful to your colleague, what are you going to be like with your vendor and purchaser? So I admired their rapport, I admired the professionalism, I admired their preparation for our meeting. Exceeding expectations is one of those weirdo cliches, and it's very commercial sounding. However, I think I used those exact words in a written reference I gave them both just after the sale was concluded. In every sense, my expectations were exceeded, particularly where I didn't have any expectations and they came up with constructive suggestions, contacts for works to be done, project management of things, because we ended up having to be away during a very large part of the sale process. And Rosanna and Scott stood in for us in the most extraordinary way and project managed jobs, project managed the prospective purchasers. They were unbelievable. It's interesting selling a family home of 36 years because you know it very, very well. You're comfortable in it. You think it's pretty good. You want to get the top price, but you don't really know what that is. Plus, we are downsizers, so we don't realise how old and out of touch we are, and we're complacent in a sense about how tired our house is in certain respects. Engaging with purchasers and engaging with other trades, they came up with the ideas to redo our fencing. Jobs that sounded like they were expensive and unnecessary. The fencing, I thought, oh, really? That decision was so vindicated by so much feedback. I would never have thought of doing it, but not only did they suggest that we do it, a refresh on the fencing, but they located the trades to do it for us and then supervised the execution. Things like painting, things like styling the house. When you're happy in your house, you think it's okay, but you don't realise how much older you are than the people who are going to buy your house. And a fresh set of eyes and a fresh set of furnishings makes a huge difference. And without them, I wouldn't have known what to do. I honestly believe Scott and Rosanna added value at every single stage of our property sale. Working as a team, those guys put together amazing timing. It seemed quite short, although looking back, it didn't seem short. They got a lot done in that time. The trades that they appointed got a lot done. Going to auction was, I think, the strategy of going to auction certainly was, as a retired property lawyer, very suitable to my expectations and comfort level. The thought of a private treaty sale just drifting on and on was not happy for my husband or I. So having a deadline in the form of an auction was a comfortable strategy for us. Their strategy in respect of timing, going for get going with an auction, have a definite date to work towards. They had it covered. I had a really strong sense. I didn't need to grill them about it, but I had a really strong sense they had it all covered, and it worked out absolutely for the best for us. Poor Scott and Rosanna had their vendor clients disappear on them for 4 weeks on a pre-planned overseas trip, and so they had to do everything themselves. However, having said that, it highlighted what great communicators they are. So we had no issues with contacting them, and they certainly contacted us with whatever was required whenever. At the first open for inspection, I sent along a friend as a slight spy. And she just raved, and she would use Scott and Rosanna herself as a consequence of what she saw. The whole thing was planned calmly and with teamwork. We felt like Scott and Rosanna had our backs, and we were relaxed about being away and knew we were coming back to 5 days before the auction, which was a little daunting, but we got back and everything was as it should be, and it rocked on, and the result was fantastic. Like beyond our expectations. And it was really interesting to have a younger perspective on what we thought were lovely Federation colours, which turned out to be terribly outdated colours. So we had painting done, because if they suggested it, we trusted them and we did it. And they found the painters, which was also very helpful. And because buying a tennis court with a house is a big element of the purchase, it was important that the tennis court looked schmick, and they had the contacts to get it looking schmick. 36 years in a house with children, grandchildren and grandpuppies, you end up with a lot of deep scratches and discoloration. But the result, when they put their chosen floor polisher in to do it and get it all done, I thought, oh, do we really want to move? It looked so different, it looked so beautiful. It was really a value add thing to do, being a bit blown away by moving on, but moving on is the right thing. So to find people who are really good at helping you move on was fantastic. Can we say we're happy with the end result of the auction sale of our precious home? We were jubilant at the time. It exceeded our expectations, to use that trite phrase, financially and emotionally, that it was a much better process than we could have imagined. But the money, between the market and two people who knew how to manage the market and to get the best for us and weren't full of hot air and what they'd talked to us about in the beginning, but actually came good on it, kept communicating with us. And the fact we didn't even have to go to the auction, which would have been a stinger, to sell the place the night before auction on their advice, which was very considered, very clearly explained, and was a win-win for us, it couldn't have been better. Would I recommend Scott and Rosanna to friends and family? I think our friends and family want me to shut up about Scott and Rosanna. I do nothing but rave about Scott and Rosanna. And I talk to people who are like us considering downsizing, go, if they're in your area, you've got to use them because they're just amazing. They're a team, they think, they care, they actually care about what it is they're selling and who they're dealing with. And I like the respect that they showed to my husband and me. I believe they also showed to purchasers. And I just felt that's part of why it was a really happy outcome, that I have raved since the whole thing happened to other people about you guys, because I think it couldn't have been better.